Welcome to the Afterspin, opinions from thought leaders in our state. I want to ask Brad Crone and Tamara Barringer. The legislature hasn't hidden its contempt for the way Governor Cooper has administrated recovery efforts from Hurricane Matthew and Hurricane Florence, too. Their latest lament is that the Cooper administration spent some $5 million for affordable housing projects when the lawmakers had designated the money to go for emergency short-term housing for those displaced by the storm. Is this just more political posturing or worthy criticism, Brad?
I think that it's worthy criticism. One of the big complaints in the PED report was down in Nash County and Edgecombe County with the city of Rocky Mount and how they spent, I think it was $3.8 million in buying up dilapidated properties for future use in affordable housing, when the funds were actually supposed to be directed towards emergency housing for hurricane victims who were displaced. One of the learning curves the administration, whether it's Republican or Democrat, now or in the future, the Department of Public Safety has to figure out a process on managing the money. And that means, do you bring in a third-party contractor to look at how you handle claims and disperse them? You justify it? Do you turn to Nationwide and State Farm and say, how do you guys handle claims? We have got, if we're going to be in the business of distributing emergency relief funds, we got to figure out the claims management process.
Well, and it looks like we're going to be in that business because we've had a lot of these storms. Tamara, what's your take on this?
I agree with Brad. This has been a colossal failure. I have students who missed significant amount of time in Chapel Hill because their houses were completely flooded in New Bern and other places down east. Some of them just barely got their exams done so they could get incompletes finished so that they could graduate. These families are hurting. There's money that's still sitting there not being used, and then what we see being used is not being used for what it was supposed to be done. I agree, we need to approach this in a professional manner because that's what this is. It's a claims system, and I really like that idea. We've got to change moving forward.
The governor, I will give the governor credit. He has taken steps to put in a special office within the Department of Public Safety to say, where are our deficiencies? And the input, I'll give the legislative leadership credit too on pointing out where the deficiencies are. So they have a roadmap on what they need to do. And one of the big steps is claims management. How do you go through the process?
And this is a time when we need our best, but you're sort of drinking out of a fire hose after you've had a storm like Florence, particularly, that's come into North Carolina, and you got all of these claims and all of this damage, and you're trying to manage transportation, and I'm not making excuses for anyone.
And Governor McCrory was on the radio recently on this radio show in Charlotte at WBT talking just about that. I mean, you are drinking out of a fire hose. His approach to it, which is different from Governor Cooper's, was that he designated his chief of staff to head a task force to get down there, and there's questions on the distribution of the money, and that goes back to claims management.
Well, and in fairness, and again, I'm not taking any sides on this, but we did move the Department of Emergency Management over from, what was it, Commerce over to Public Safety during this period of time before this storm, and it was a lot of it was untried and untested. Will we get it better next time?
We better. We're going to have more storms. North Carolina is one of the highest storm states in the country. We've got to learn best practices. We've got to realize what we've done in the past isn't working. We need to deal with these people now because they're hurting, but we also need to be planning for the future.
So this was not just a political punch from the legislature. There was some validity to some of these.
I think there's very valid criticism, and I think it should be noted that it isn't partisan in nature, and that take the criticism and build upon it.
And that's a good point, I think, that everybody needs to hear. It was not necessarily personal or partisan. Let's get it right. Well, thank you for watching the Afterspin. We'll have more video all during the week on ncspin.com.